Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So I have this magazine article titled 8 Things You Should Know Before Homing a Hamster. And I want to go through it and kind of react to it and see if they're giving legitimate advice. Yeah. So I don't own a hamster, nor do I think I will ever own a hamster, for the reason that they have very short lifespans and I get very attached to my pets. So I think it'd just be devastating for me to have a hamster and then like 2 or so years later, you know, they're not really for me, but they are super cute. I won't lie, they are really cute. I do know a bit about hamsters. I'm not clueless about hamster care. But yeah, let's get started. So point number 1, hamsters are nocturnal. Yeah, so it's just saying that if you're a light sleeper and you can be woken up by the sounds of the wheel or just them eating and playing around, then a hamster's not a great pet for you. And I think that's a good point there. If you're expecting to play with your hamster during the day, then you're going to be waking it up and it's going to be really groggy, you know, as people are when you wake them up while they're sleeping. Also, a lot of the times when it comes to pets, for example with chinchillas, I know a lot of people complain about chinchilla wheels, and even if they make like the slightest noise, it's a big deal because either they're a light sleeper or their partner is a light sleeper or something. So noise at night is definitely a strong consideration. Oh, I've only started the video and the red light of the battery is flashing. Okay, space requirements. So we all know that the horrible pet shop hamster cages are bad. This article, it's saying that you should think twice before buying a standard hamster cage. However, the minimum that they say, the minimum size here, is at least 60 centimeters by 30 centimeters of floor space, which equals to 1,800 square centimeters of floor space, which does not actually meet the minimum. The minimum for a dwarf is 2,100 centimeters of floor space, squared centimeters. So no, they've actually given some bad information in this, which is actually quite sad. When was this published? May, June 2019. Tisk tisk. The third point they talk about is bedding, and what they're saying cotton is dangerous. Thank goodness for sharing that information. And then it also says that you should avoid pine and cedar wood shavings, which is very good because I feel like the most common thing you think of with hamster cages or hamster bedding, the bad version is those pine shavings. So I'm glad that they mentioned that that is not healthy and safe. The fourth point they talk about is, are hamsters good for kids? I think many people on the internet will agree that hamsters are not good pets for kids. However, it feels like hamsters are mostly kids' pets because they're small little pocket-sized things. But anywho, so what does it say here? Hamsters require careful and gentle handling, and if your child wakes up the hamster during the day, then the hamster would bite. You know, like I mentioned, if you wake them up in the middle of the day when they're supposed to be sleeping, they're just going to bite, and then you think you have this horrible pet, and then the people want to rehome their hamster because hamsters are horrible animals. No. Housing regulations. So this should be interesting. It mentions Syrians cannot be housed together under any circumstances. Okay. It mentions how females can even kill and eat their babies. True. And it says dwarf and Roborowski hamsters may be able to live together. I wouldn't put that out there in a magazine article because even if it says may be put together, if properly introduced, I think people are just going to say, oh okay, so they're allowed to, and then put 2 dwarfs together, and then the dwarfs don't live a good, happy, healthy life, especially in the tiny cage that they said is the minimum here. So I would personally say never put hamsters together, and then more experienced people who have kept hamsters for years and have done tons of research can then find out for themselves that maybe you can put 2 hamsters together under very certain circumstances. That's just how I would do it. Number 6, cleaning the cage. And it's saying spot cleaning their cages at least once a week. I don't have a hamster, I wouldn't know how often you're supposed to spot clean. And then it says change their entire bedding once a month. And it doesn't say anything about leaving a little bit of the old bedding, which is what you should do. So you always want to leave their scent in there so that they don't feel stressed out. So you do basically an entire bedding change, but you still leave a portion of their old bedding there just so that they feel comfortable and safe, but you do that very rarely. Number 7 is chew toys. Yeah, it mentions how their teeth do keep growing, which is true, and it says you must give them wooden chew toys or even cardboard chews, which is good. Give your hamster toys for enrichment and to gnaw their teeth down. And the last point, number 8, is a happy hamster. That if your hamster is yawning or stretching, it can be a sign that they're happy and comfortable. And to provide them with lots of leafy greens and a variety of food, and also adequate space. Not that you guys have given them adequate space in your bad minimum requirements. It also says that hamsters can be vocal when they're happy, so if you hear a little squeak coming from your hamster, don't be too alarmed. I don't actually know about that. I don't know anything about vocal sounds of hamsters. But yes, I'm also glad that they mentioned the leafy greens and a variety of foods. You're going to have to do a bit more research into that. Don't just give any leafy greens. Find out what's healthy. Like they have a picture of a broccoli. Broccoli I know is good. Give them broccoli. And when they say a variety of foods, does not mean you can give them a muesli mix, or the muesli mix in the bad sense, I mean. So what do I think of this article? I think that it is nice that they did bring up some points, like that hamsters aren't good for kids, and that you probably need to give your hamster a better diet. And what else was it? Oh, and the good bedding, how they mentioned that the pine shavings are bad. I'm glad they mentioned that. They didn't mention an alternative, but that's okay, I guess. And yeah, I'm just really disappointed about the minimum cage size they gave. They basically gave that like this pet store size, but then they're saying how like, okay, they don't say anything about the pet store cages, but like you basically gave a pet store cage size. That's disappointing, but the rest of it's kind of okay. I don't know, maybe someone will read this and then think, you know, maybe I don't know that much about hamster care, and then they will go and do further research into hamster care, and then they can find out, you know, the more nitty-gritty stuff and find out the actual minimum cage size requirement. So if you are looking for more hamster care advice, knowledge, you want to do some more research, highly recommend the link in the description. That's the link to the Hamster South Africa website. It has got a ton of information there. All of it's correct. It shows you just everything. Just everything. Also share that link to like all your friends who have hamsters and everyone who ever thinks about getting a hamster, because we don't need any more of this bad hamster care that has happened in the yesteryears. We are now on to better hamster care. But that's all from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!